lost my best friend to 23. She left her body in Harvard.
Okay, welcome to this special film where we're going to be travelling up to the Wirral, also close to Liverpool, if you know where that is, if you're, in America or somewhere. But yeah, and we are going to be visiting a very special car, which more about later on in the video. But this is what we've chosen for the trip. This is a 2009 Porsche 911 Carrera 4S, and I've got to be honest with you, it's probably not the best choice when it comes to travelling 250-300 miles, mainly because of the suspension. This has sports suspension on it, and also it has pretty awful boot space. I mean, if you come a bit closer, you can just see that this is the 4S version, so it's supposed to be better. Yet, with the four-wheel drive system, they decide to cut out half the boot space, which you see right here. So normally it would be about yay big, but it isn't. So I'm going to get on with the trip, and I'm going to get back to you when we're on the road, and hopefully this goes relatively well. So see you in a second. This trip was going to be about 2.5 hours, depending on the traffic, with quite a lot of changes. So first we went on the A5 to Toaster, then cross-country to Banbury, then the M40 to the M42, the M42 to the M6 toll, the M6 toll to the M54, the M54, and then we took the junction off to the A41, the A41 to Chester, and then Chester to Liverpool. And obviously we had to go under the tunnel to get to Liverpool.
Please insert a card in the card reader slot below. Please insert a card in the card reader slot below.
Thank you,
So we've literally stopped at this nice pub over here, and we have got about 60 miles left to go. We're just going to get on with it now, and I will catch up with you in a bit. You open up the front. Okay, so this is the main part of the video, and well, as I'm up here, I had the thought about who I could see, and since I've had a few problems with getting in touch with Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini about doing some reviews, I thought, well, I know somebody who has a Mini. It's a 1990s 35th anniversary edition Mini, and it's a fantastic car, and well, why not go and review it and have a look at it and let him explain a bit about the process he went through in restoring it.
Yeah, so this is a project my son and I embarked on. It's really for him because he was an engineering graduate or undergraduate at the time, and so he thought it'd be interesting to have a tinker around with something like this and get some good practical experience. So that's what we did. And we stripped it all down to completely bare shell. We didn't do the welding ourselves, but it did need welding because some parts replacing. Some of the bodywork was very, very rusty. As you'll see when we look at the other one that hasn't been done, you'll see where the normal places that rust appears in these things. And so we had that done, a good respray to make it look nice and shiny, but then obviously had to put all the parts back, get decent chrome work and put all the interior back in. So it's quite a long project.
How long did it take roughly?
It took us about 8 years in the end,
That's
doing it very part-time, mind you. So yeah, you should be able to do it. Get someone who knows what they're doing. I don't know, in full-time hours, you could probably get it done in 3 or 4 weeks if you knew what you were doing.
Do you have any plans for it then?
Well, I think my son really wants it back. So whereas I'm looking after it for him at the moment, I think he'd like to have it in his own house, in his own garage. But while I've got it, I'm quite happy to play with it.
Okay,
Yeah, well, this is it's a 35th anniversary edition. It's one of the last minis really that was made with a carburettor. So it's not multi-point injection or single injection. It's just carburettor. 1275, as I say. It's a 35th anniversary edition, and it was pink originally, but when I had it rebuilt, I just thought it looked nicer in blue with a white roof. So, of course, very fortunate to be able to do these things. You can make the choices you want. So it's all been rebuilt, refurbished. Not a lot changed to it in terms of it's all production parts and that sort of thing. So I haven't uprated the engine or done anything special to it. Just really quite delighted to get it back together again.
Okay.
Having been completely in bits.
Okay, so we're about to go out. Shall we start the engine then? See what it sounds like.
Okay. So it's an old engine, so it needs a choke to get it going.
Yeah. But the automatic chokes really make a difference.
Yeah. So should we go?
Let's go.
And no power steering.
No, that's very true.
Hardly any brake servo.
Wow, it feels a lot smaller. I mean, I expect it to be small, but it is.
I thought you'd been in it before. No?
No, I haven't been in this before, no.
Well, not at the moment. I mean, I really need to sort out the dashboard, which isn't properly finished yet.
you taken this on any long journeys? Or?
No, I haven't actually.
You're going to?
I've done about 50 miles in it, but no more than that. Well, I think to start with, because I put it together myself, I was quite worried that it was actually going to last the course. So I didn't venture too far from home in case it didn't make it, you know.
Oh yeah. But, so you did all this work yourself, or did you have?
Well, my son and I, yeah, Nicholas and I, we did bits of it. When he was away at university, I was obviously doing quite a lot.
Okay.
Because it's his car, he would claim. So I think he'll probably want it back at some point.
Well, when you have your new Mini that you've got up and running, then you can...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, he, very fortunately, he now works for the Jaguar Heritage Centre. It's down in Coventry, near Coventry. And he's rebuilding old cars for Jaguar. And he knows a lot of people who, obviously tradesmen and businesses, which supply parts to old cars now. So I'm hoping he'll be able to give me lots of advice, contacts of people to talk to.
I've just noticed the suspension is quite stiff. Is that how it was originally, or did you just make it slightly stiff?
No, this is as it comes. I mean, you can tweak it, but it's standard.
Because I've been in the 911 Carrera 3.2, and it was really, really soft suspension, which I was quite surprised at. But now I thought that was just sort of...
Well, I'm sorry, they put these speed belts in quite recently, I think.
Yeah, but you can definitely feel it's got a strong chassis to it. The chassis is made out of steel, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, we'll see this a bit more when we look at the dismantled one. So essentially there are two subframes under the body.
Okay.
The front one for supporting the engine, and the back one supports the back wheels.
Yeah.
And the body. The body. That's going to look a bit strange on the video, isn't it? We're jumping around.
Well, I think it'll be okay. It should be stabilised.
So anyway, having enjoyed doing this so much, I thought we'd have another go with another one, which as you'll see is a slightly different condition on the other side of the drive. So if we go and have a look at that. And I was talking about rust in the normal places, and this Mini certainly has it. So you can see that these areas where mud and rubbish gets caught, water gets caught, in all that around the wings, where the lights indicator was, all these places, the places I'm afraid where Minis attract rust, and the metal they're made of is very thin, so it doesn't take long for you to get holes in the Mini. And as we go around it, you'll see there are rather a lot of those. So I'm really hoping to restore this, hopefully, to look as good as the other one. This one is actually a Mini Mayfair from '86, so it's older than the other one. It's got a 998cc engine in it, and this is perhaps a bit more interesting to look at the new one, because you can see, having dismantled quite a lot of it, how this actually fits together. This hasn't got a carburettor or a distributor or the radiator in the bay at the moment, because they've all been removed, ready to take the engine out. And the only thing we now need to do to make that possible, is apart from undoing the bolts which attach it to the subframe, is to take away the drive shafts, which, if you look down in this corner here, between the engine and the wheels, they're the drive shafts which take the power from the gearbox at the bottom of the engine out to the wheels. And this is what made the Mini very manoeuvrable and small, that the designer, Alec Isagonis, turned the engine sideways on transverse, put the gearbox underneath, and made the wheels directly driven by the engine. So consequently, this very, very short distance between the front of the car and where you're sitting, which makes it great fun to drive and very manoeuvrable. So as you do look around the engine bay, you'll see how rotten some of it is. There's some holes appearing down here, and also these plates are very rusty where water's gathered, and this is all the engine sitting on a subframe which houses the shock absorbers and the suspension and links into the wheels. So under this engine is a big square frame, metal frame, which comes away from the body, and that's what the body sits on. So I'm hoping, once we've got the engine out, You can see what sort of state that subframe is in and how much repair and renewal it needs. So if we go down the side of the car, you'll see how poor it really is. It's got a replacement door which needs fixing. Nice squeak to it. And a lot of rust down that pillar where it's had water kicked up from the road. And you can see inside the footwell of the car, see with no carpets anymore, this floor pan needs a bit of welding and replacement.
It's got a bit of damping down there.
It has, and that's not causing too much. That's only rain from the last couple of days actually. But because of all that rust, obviously parts of the floor pan need, and the sills, these side bits here under here will need replacing. And of course you may have spotted, but it needs a whole new side going in here. That was all rusty. This pile of metal you see in the car is actually, are actually all the new parts ready to go on the vehicle.